This is the Business Owners IT Podcast with Anthony Garish and Ryan Carter, where tomorrow's technology meets today's conversations.
Hi, I'm Tony Garish.
And I'm Ryan Carter, and this is the Business Owners IT Podcast.
A podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and solutions for business owners involving all things tech.
Time for a deep breath. We're finishing up the CIS Control series with CIS Control number 18, penetration testing. This one focuses on regular testing and organizations' defenses to identify and remediate vulnerabilities before attackers can exploit them. I just want to say, let the hackers hack. Here we go, Tony.
Yeah, me too. I cannot believe that I had so much to talk about with 18 of these things. I mean, we have hours of videos about the CIS stuff, and I just can't believe the stuff that came in as we're going. So as we wrap this up, we're going to talk about penetration testing, right? Now, penetration testing is not a vulnerability scan. It's not, internal and external vulnerability scan. Penetration testing is, a live body that's trying to penetrate your network or penetrate your security stuff.
Okay, I'll stop you there. I'm going to read this one.
Okay.
From somebody asked me if we do penetration tests, and we don't. We'll hire that out because obviously you got to have a skilled professional, a white hat hacker, I guess you would call it, that would go in and try to break into these networks. They sent this asking if we did it, and I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, we've got this policy that we need to do. So I'll just read it. It's somewhat long. It says, at the company, the vendor shall, which is the company, shall contract with an independent third party at that vendor's sole cost to conduct a thorough network infrastructure penetration test. So here we go. We think a hacker's going to hack, right? Once every 12 months. Such network infrastructure penetration test shall include, but not be limited to, external scanning of the network infrastructure to determine any exposed ports or services reachable from the internet, and also an internal scanning of the network infrastructure to determine any critical vulnerabilities. Does that sound like a pen test?
Well, it said not limited to, so you have to read that part, right?
Right.
No, it sounds like a vulnerability scan. And at Unique Computing Solutions, we're doing internal and external vulnerability scans using a scanner all the time.
Yep.
Again, it's not something that you have to pay extra for. As I said, many of these things, we don't want we don't want people to get into our customers. So we're doing these things, right? People charge for these. We're doing these, right? We're doing vulnerability scans, internal and external, right? We do them for us. We don't want stuff to happen.
Right.
But it's not a penetration test. So a penetration test, right, is, they said there's some key objectives. Let me read what the CIS said the key objectives are. Establish a penetration testing program, right? So a program is going to be, basically, what are we going to do? Who are we going to hire? Simulate real-world attacks. Use tools and techniques to mimic adverse behavior to identify weaknesses. Prioritize and remediate findings. So if you do find something, you get in and then validate security improvements. Identify vulnerabilities missed by automation scans, right? So there you go. Not talking about automated vulnerabilities missed by automated scans, right? So the scan didn't catch it, right? So you're trying to, hackers are trying to do other things. Test the effectiveness of existing security measures. Strengthen organization security posture by revealing real-world risk. So I can tell you we've hired some people to do penetration tests. And if you hire the right firm and you really want to know, right, I can tell you, what they're going to do. First of all, you have to sign off on it. And you got to realize they're going to try to get in, right? And the easiest way to do it is, it's the middle of summer. It's 90 degrees, right, out. You go to the shipping department, right, and the doors are all wide open and the shipping guy's not there. You walk in the back door. You get on his computer. You take a few pictures and you leave. You just penetrated them, whether you got in anything or not. That's a penetration test.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is you give somebody access to your network. You give a physical access to your network. So I give them a VPN, right? So we're assuming that somebody's in, right? We give them access to a VPN, right? And then we allow them to try to attack you. And what are they going to do? Well, they're going to run internal and external vulnerability scans too.
Yep.
But then they're going to, when they find those vulnerabilities, right? And remember, hackers are using the same tools we're using. When they find those vulnerabilities, they're going to try to exploit it. That's the difference, right? They're going to try to exploit it. A vulnerability scan does not try to exploit it. It just tells you it's there. And you know what? You could have a vulnerability on your scanner, right? that's there that says this is a vulnerability, but it's not. You can't exploit it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a penetration test. And there's also some people out there, software people out there that says, hey, we're doing penetration tests. What they're doing is a vulnerability scan, and then they had some binaries code, right? And they're using that code to try to exploit those vulnerabilities, and they're calling it a penetration test.
Well, with AI.
With AI,
with
right?
AI,
but,
right? Yeah.
I don't care what they say. It's not, in my opinion, it's not a penetration test. The penetration test is physical guys, physical people, humans that are trying to exploit you.
Yep, get into your building, or just like you said, we simulate the attack from the inside and just and see what they can do. Yep, you got a human sitting behind a keyboard doing the work.
Yes, and the thing of it is small businesses, mid-sized business, you may not need this, right? I mean, it is a layer there. This is going to be in the group 3. There's 3 control. CIS has 3 groups. This will be a group 3 type of test. We didn't really get into the individual groups, but not everybody's going to do this.
No, you're right.
It doesn't make sense. It'll cost more. The price to do a penetration test is a lot of money, and it would cost more than the benefit you would get as a 15 or 20 man shop.
Yep, I see this a lot with maybe people that work with the defense industrial base, where they have to be a CMMC compliant. Well, that's now new, but NIST compliant, 800, 171, stuff like that.
Yeah, and those things that they're able to charge more, so they can afford to do it.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So they can charge. Once you get into that realm, right, that the DoD type of contracts or being a vendor to the main DoD contractor, it's they pay more because you have to do this.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah, well, that wraps up this. There's not much more, to say about it.
No, there's not, but that's it for the CIS Control. I mean, yay, we're there.
Yeah.
Yay. Before we do wrap it up, though, I have to give a couple shout-outs. Okay, I'm not going to say any names. Now that we're famous, we're internet famous, Tony. We're influencers. I think we have 55 followers, so here we go. Those 55 subscribers, this is out to you. But my first shout-out is going to go out to my wife, because she really asked me to do this for her. I couldn't remember what she said, but I love you, babe. Thank you very much. And the second one is I have a nephew down in Texas who has been listening to our podcast, who is a freshman in high school, and says it's very interesting and has given me pointers on stuff we should do in the future, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to shout out to US. I'm not going to say your name, though, on the internet, okay, bud? But thank you for listening.
Yeah, I guess if there's other people out there, too, that are watching our podcast, we're always looking for things to talk about. Always looking for things to talk about.
Yep.
Drop them in the comments below.
Drop them in the comments below as our director over here. So,
see, we're not used to this like and subscribe stuff.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Tell us what you want. We're always looking for content.
Yeah, we're always looking for cybersecurity hacks, so that's what we're doing. Keeping you safe. All right, Tony.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Business Owners IT Podcast, and we hope to see you at the next episode.
Yep, we'll see you next week where we talk about CIS Control. Nada. It's done, baby. Thank you.
Unique computing solutions. Your IT challenges solved.